Hi guys, welcome to another video. It's another Space Marine tactical video, and today we're talking about the very first of the HQ choices, the Chapter Master. Okay, so what do you get for a Chapter Master? Well, he is 125 points, and basically his stat line is identical to the Space Marine Captain. So, obviously he's more expensive, so why would you take a Chapter Master instead of a Space Marine Captain? Well, that's a good question. Generally there's three reasons people will take a Chapter Master instead. The first one is basically for fluff reasons, like, you know, they just want to play their Chapter Master in a game, so why not, you know? It's only 25 points more. Okay. Or the second option is obviously to unlock Honor Guard as a unit, which you can only get there. But of course then you'd still need to take a captain if you wanted a company command squad instead. And the third reason, and probably the most used reason, is because of this. I mean, people already knew I was going to say this, surely. The Pie Plate of Death. Okay, let's explain this then. Basically, as I'm sure a lot of people know, the Chapter Master has a special ability that the Captain does not, and it's called Orbital Bombardment. And basically what this is an ordnance shot with unlimited range, okay, that uses this, and it's Strength 10, AP 1. Okay, that's pretty damn good. The drawback is that he needs line of sight to use it. He can't move, he can't fire anything else that turn, unless of course you take an auxiliary grenade launcher, which fires whenever you fire a weapon, although I'm sure it wouldn't be very effective in this situation, to be honest. Probably well out of range. But yeah, basically the other drawback is if it scatters, it will always scatter the full amount, so it will scatter the full 2d6, so it can be quite bad, but with unlimited range, you know, it's not bad at all. And it's so powerful, and because it's ordnance, you roll the 2 dice for armor penetration against vehicles. Pick the highest, so it's pretty good. Yeah, so that's basically what people spend the extra points on. Now, of course, this also means he's more niche than the Captain. And basically, well, the Space Marine Captain is he's designed basically so you can build him however you want. You can make him fill any role you want. So you can build him for close combat, you can build him for shooting, you can build him for speed. You know, he's there to support whatever you need, fill any role you need, and you can be made very good at it. The Chapter Master is exactly the same. He's got the same exact kind of point costs. He's got the same weapons options. You know, so basically you use him in the same role. But because he costs more and he's got the orbital bombardment skill, if you want to take advantage of that, then you need to play him slightly differently. Well, quite differently actually. What is it? Yeah, I mean, you could take him just to unlock the Honor Guard and ignore the orbital bombardment, but then it's Strength 10 AP 1 with unlimited range, and look at the size of that plate, you know. I mean, this alone fills up the entire top of the bastion, so everything in there would get hit. Because it's ordnance, they wouldn't get any cover, so that's nice. Yeah, so I'll go over quickly like how I would run them, or how I do run them. Basically, the first thing I consider is that I would only ever take the Chapter Master over a Captain in certain situations where I knew he would be useful because of orbital bombardment, or where I knew the Honor Guard would be useful. So, for example, playing against Orcs is a good choice. Playing against Tyranids is a good choice. Playing against things with lots of mech, like Imperial Guard, you can do very well. The other thing is, basically I want him to be able to fire the orbital bombardment. Okay, it's not necessary, as I say. You can use him like a captain, but that's my primary concern. I want him to be able to shoot that orbital bombardment and generally as early as possible. So to do that, basically he can't move that first turn, but if he can't move, then he's either slowing down the unit he's with, or he's on his own, in which case he's incredibly vulnerable. So how do you protect him? Well, the choice is fairly obvious. I've got it right here. You can take a fortification. I like the Bastion, and I'll explain why for this situation. Basically, turn 1, he can be inside the Bastion, okay, which is down here, so he won't actually be on the table. He's inside the Bastion, okay. Now the Bastion itself has all these different openings, which are firing points, which 2 things can fire from. You can obviously put other units in here as well, and just attach him to that unit. But basically what happens is, he can use that to fire out his orbital bombardment on the very first turn. And then he's protected with armor value 14. Okay, so they can't target him specifically. It just means that, you know, he's going to be well protected in there. If for some reason there's no real target for him, sorry, getting out of focus there. If for some reason there's no decent target for him with the orbital bombardment on the very first turn, then he can always find a bolter instead at ballistic skill 2. The heavy bolter, which isn't bad at all. But basically, yeah, you fire that shot, you do a load of damage, and then after that, you can keep him in there as a counter assault unit. He can come out like later on when the enemy starts bringing outflanking units, deep striking units, that kind of thing. Build him up for close combat, that kind of thing. Let him deal with any major threats on the ground. Or, failing that, if you have some kind of gun emplacement on the top, he can then come on the top and then fire whatever weapon you want at ballistic skill 5, which is very nice. And because he's a character, of course, all his attacks count as precision strikes if he rolls a 6. So that means if you're firing that Icarus las cannon at an enemy that isn't a flyer or a vehicle, or if you're firing that quad gun at units, then you can allocate those wounds if you roll a 6 to hit, which is very nice. And of course you're going to be hitting more because you're ballistic skill 5. So that's one thing to use. And the Bastion's really cheap, to be honest, but I won't go with the Bastion now because, you know, that's for a different video. But it's a really good complement for a Chapter Master for this reason. It can do a lot of damage. And the other good thing about the orbital bombardment is that you can use it to support. Basically, you can use it to support alpha strike lists like drop pods and things. So, for example, if you've got Stern Guard dropping in first turn, that kind of thing, you can drop this thing. Make sure you, well, try very hard not to hit your own units, of course. But you can use this to deal with other threats away from the drop pods, which would then fire back, and that means they have to devote more things away from your gun line area or your main forces to deal with the drop pods that they wouldn't usually, because they've just been hit by this incredibly large blast. I mean, it's possible they might ignore the drop pods and go for the Bastion and the threat of the Chapter Master, but obviously after he's got rid of that, his threat is much lessened unless you use him for close combat and dealing with enemy units that get too close. Bear in mind, if any kind of unit with flamers comes near, get him out of the Bastion, put him on top or something for that nice cover save, but get him out of the main building because they will wreck you in there. It's a nightmare. Yeah, so that's all you need to do with him, really. So let's just go over the equipment. I mean, jump pack, take it if he's running with a jump pack squad. Fairly straightforward. Bikes again, if you're running a bike army, it can be good to keep him up and about, but obviously then you can't use the Bastion trick, and it'll be very difficult to stay still and fire this. Putting him in drop pod is quite nice if you need him to support a unit. Like, you could drop him with Stern Guard as a nice assault unit, and of course he can take Hellfire rounds himself, so he can support them in what they're shooting, that kind of thing. You can take that auxiliary grenade launcher. I would, if I was running him like my biker captain. Sorry about that. Cat's getting a bit nuts. Digital weapons, you know, all the usual kind of things. The only thing I would say to definitely take, and even in this situation, is Artificer Armour. It's the same thing as with the Captain. So you take that for the 2-up armour save, and then even if you're in here and they get a glancing hit or whatever, you've got a really good chance of saving, you know, not taking that wound, which is very nice. Storm Shield, I would say if you take the Artificer Armour, you know you're going to be up front against a lot of nasty power weapons, power fists, that kind of thing, then yes, definitely take the Storm Shield. If, however, you're going to sit back like this, I would say probably keep him quite cheap. Maybe give him 1 power weapon, maybe give him a Relic Blade or something like that. That goes well with the Artificer Armour, something like that. And yeah, basically keep him pretty cheap. Now, Captains I like to load up on points because they have a different role. They're generally going forward for me, that kind of thing. This guy's more of a gun line type thing, so you sit him back, use the orbital bombardment, use his shooting skills on gun emplacements, that kind of thing. Use him as counter assault purely for protecting your gun line, like if you've got Thunderfire cannons, Predator tanks, Sniper scouts, all that kind of thing. And that's basically how you use him. Yeah, so let me know how it goes for you. I've had quite a lot of success with this setup. It's quite nice. People don't really play the Bastion much, but you know, as I say, he's quite niche. So generally, I would take a Captain, but when you want that Chapter Master, this is well, it seems to work for me. So it seems like a pretty good way of doing it. So yeah, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want. Make sure you visit my blog. There's lots more content on there, and there's plenty more coming soon. So see you later.